Welcome to the show. I'm Sherri Horner, your host at Health Fitness Broadcast, and I'd like to welcome our team. If you're not on our team and you are a health or fitness professional, a fitness writer, and you would like to contribute, we would love to have you on the team. But today we have one of our favorite contributors with us, Joe Stankowski. Welcome back to the
Ooh,
show, Joe.
always fun to be back.
I love to say that. Welcome back to the show, Joe.
Yeah,
Joe
it's been a
is
while.
not only a trainer, but he's a writer and a contributing writer for Men's Fitness Magazine, especially not only but other multiple publications also, and a regular contributor. For many years, you were opened our show with our tip of the day. So
Yep.
thank you for that. But I'm going to pick your brain again today for a whole
Just
lot
like
more
old
about fitness.
times.
We're going to talk about the 5 movement patterns.
Okay.
And Joe's going to start us right off with that. Go ahead, Joe.
Whenever I talk about fitness to anybody, so I always have to have context. People ask me questions about, hey, what's the best exercise for this, or how do I lose that, or how do I gain something here? And I always have to back up about 20 steps and say, let's put things in context first. And before we even get into the 5 movement patterns, I want to start with kind of the 3 levels that I classify people at. And it's really based on habit, not so much experience, like, time in the gym. Because the people that are level ones, once I start with the level ones, they often have the most experience, yet they don't have the current habit of fitness going right now actively. So for them, I help them either establish or reestablish the fitness habit, doing whatever they think is best for them, whatever they enjoy enough to keep doing. Because I can say, I'm Joe, I'm the expert, I'm in this magazine, this book, this video, this whatever, and here's the best workout for you. But if they don't have the habit, I know from experience that the likelihood of them sticking with the best plan ever is very, very low. So I'd rather say, what's the worst plan, but one that you'll do, and let's build from that. Let's kind of start from the bottom up. And if walking your dog is all that you'll do or all that you know, rather than teach you a whole set of new skills, let's start with what you've got. I think corporate buzzwords or the corporate speak is meet them where they are.
Right.
So the whole idea is where are you now? What do you know? What can we add to that to make it better? To establish or reestablish the basic habit of activity. Once we get to a base level of consistency, now hopefully, usually they're going to make some kind of progress just from doing stuff more. It's not necessarily doing it right or doing it well, but doing more. And that carries a lot of people up to level two. And level two are the ones who show up, they're putting all this time and effort in the gym and in the kitchen and in the grocery store, but they're not seeing the progress they think they should for all these efforts that they're putting into it. So for them, I approach things a little differently. I say, okay, I am the guy who knows what I'm talking about. I've worked with a whole lot of people. I've been there, done that. Now we're going to have to fine tune what you enjoy, and you might not enjoy it as much, but you enjoy the results for it because you've got the habit. So there's a much better chance of these things sticking. So those are level twos, and for them,
Right.
it's a little bit more work from their standpoints, or I think perceived work. Oftentimes it's actually less time put into training. It's just more intensity, more effort
Right.
that they might not be used to get the results kind of kick-started again. And then level threes, I always talk about these guys are the ones that we hate. They're the ones who eat cheesecake and they put in the abdominal cattle prod belt you see in the infomercials, and they sit at their desk for 3 minutes a day and they get six-pack abs because of it.
Yeah.
And I can't explain why those people get just they're so hyper responsive to exercise or a change in their diet, but they are. And a lot of level ones are actually level threes in disguise, but so I don't ever have to do that level two thing in the middle,
Hmm.
just by helping people reestablish that habit of regular activity. So, holy cow, I just lost 30 pounds in a month, and here's my body that I want, and now I move and I feel better and everything. So that's the first part of the context I start with. Um, got that?
Yeah, so I was just wanting everyone to know that not only are you a contributing writer for Men's Fitness, but you also were a contributing writer for the Power of Champions book,
Yep, that was a
and
while back.
and like I mentioned, many other publications. So you have worked with a lot of different individuals. You've worked with a lot of, and you love powerlifting, so you've worked with a lot of individuals for that. And you mentioned like you have to meet them where they're at. Um, so if someone's watching and say it's a lady in her 40s, 50s, she never was really physically active
Right.
in high school, and she didn't have to worry about her weight at the time, but now she's in her 40s and 50s, picking up pounds. She has a desk job, so she's not. I'm sitting at my desk. That's not me that I'm talking about.
I'm standing by
Uh,
this. Yeah, I'm
but
standing
no,
up.
it's not me. But so what would you meeting her where she's at? What
Right.
she would be at a level one.
if she's not currently active, not currently getting at least a baseline of 3 hours per week of intentional exercise.
Right.
And now I define intentional exercise as stuff you're doing that is only for exercise. There's all the advice, especially around the beginning of the year right now. People talk about, park farther across the parking lot, and before you go into the store, take the stairs instead of the elevator, stuff like that. It's all good. It's all part of an active, healthy lifestyle. I agree with that. I'm not going to say don't do that. But if you're in a building and you have to go upstairs anyway, just because because you take the steps now to the elevator, that doesn't make it intentional because you had to go there anyway.
Right.
If you go into a random building you have no business in, and you start walking up and down the stairs with no real reason for being there other than exercise, same activity, different intent, and that kind of raises the level of the quality of it to intentional exercise rather than just something just happens. It's just
Right.
arbitrary movement. I mean, it's movements, which is good, but we
Yeah.
need to have focused efforts is the thing.
Yeah.
So for the 40, 50-year-old woman or 18, 20-year-old kid or whatever, we need to have that baseline of some sort of time. We need to have time as our first benchmark we're going to look at. I aim for 3 hours. If we get more, that's okay. If we get less, it's okay. 3 hours is a really good target because I think it's doable for most people. I mean, just in my experience, I've seen the busiest people you can imagine find 3 hours a week that they think they don't have. There's 3 hours they can get stuff done.
Oh, yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
realistic.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to Joe, think about 3 hours of something you're doing that is non-productive. Watching TV.
Watching TV, right? Yeah,
That's the number one.
yeah,
Or spending. A lot of people have a lot of good hobbies. They are big readers, or um, they crochet, or something where they are sitting the most of the time.
right,
And that could go on for hours. And they say, "Oh, well, I'm doing things. I'm reading a book a week," and
right.
but but
And that's a great point because now here, this is where we get the whole concept of progression that comes in. Because let's say you're power crocheting, right? You're crocheting with a weight on your back and you're standing on one leg juggling flames while you're crocheting. You've done that this week, you've adapted to it. What do you do next week to make it even more challenging? Or if you're walking your dog and you start out walking your dog around the block once a day, then you take it to twice a day. And before you know it, we run out of time. So you can't walk your dog more. So now you start walking your dog faster.
yeah.
Or now you start running with your dog, or now you start carrying your dog, or you go up an uphill barefoot in the snow with your dog, dragging in a sled behind you. It's the same basic activity of walking your dog, but making it more productive because you're progressing the efforts that are required to do that activity.
Mhm.
And progression is the base of everything. Everything fitness. If you want to make progress,
Right.
progression is the key.
That's the
More
word.
weight, more speed, more time, more something. You need to have some sort of progressive variable.
Let me ask you this, Joe. What do you suggest for people that have no idea what they like? Everything they've tried, they don't like. They went
Okay.
to a spin class, don't like it. They tried kickboxing, don't like it. They tried everything, and there's very little left. When you get those individuals, or if they're
Yeah.
listening, watching now, what would you suggest if they're saying, "That's me, she's talking about. That's how I am. I don't like any of that exercise stuff."
The most basic movement we have is, I think, walking, and just walking. It's a relatively low impact activity. It's relatively low skill, so you don't have to go out there and learn to do something new. Like jumping rope takes more skill than walking. You know what I mean? So it's like just go with the minimum amount of skill that will allow you to get the work done.
Right, and
Uh,
everybody's walked before, so
Pretty
most of
much, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, there's I got my basement gym slash office slash I guess whatever kind of crazy place this is, dungeon, whatever
yeah.
laboratory. I've got a lot of weight in here. I've got bands. I've got different training tools, but they're all just tools. And you don't have to let that kind of stuff intimidate you. If you enjoy something that's out of the ordinary, if you like playing basketball, if you like playing dodgeball, volleyball, whatever it is that you like, start doing that and use that as the base to build on. Um, Movement is a natural thing for us. I mean, we're little babies, long time ago when we start, sitting up and rolling around and crawling and doing things like that. Movement is a very natural thing. And for somebody who says, well, I can't move, or I don't move, or I don't want to move, it's in your blood. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a part of you. Movement is part of you. Might not believe it right now. It might not feel natural because you've kind of gotten away from that. But movement is what we do. It's really what we do.
right, good. So you're a really good motivator. What's next?
This gets into the five movement patterns. This is keeping things simple now because that's how we started, is at the concept of the five movements. Really, when it comes down to it, our muscles only do one thing, and they shorten, so they pull, right? So that's all their muscles do. So if I bend my arm, my hand towards my shoulder, my biceps are shortening. If I straighten my arm out, my triceps are shortening. So they're kind of doing this balance game back and forth. So there's really only one movement pattern that we have if you really want to break it down to that. But from an exercise standpoint, from a movement standpoint, rather than look at 650, 700 individual muscles, which is pretty complicated for somebody who might be intimidated by this whole fitness thing anyway, I just look at what are the five fundamental movement patterns that we have. And we push in all different directions. We could push. We also pull in all different directions. We bend. A curl is a bend. A sit up, a crunch could be considered a bend. Um, Pushing again. A push is a combination of bends. So we're kind of bending at our shoulder, bending at our elbow. This bend as a concept is pretty important. We have rotation, which could be rotating our arms, could be rotating our body, rotating our hips. And then we have level changes, which is basically a combination of anti-bending and bending through our hips. So it's a squat, a lunge, walking upstairs. When people say, "Oh, I have bad knees and I can't do squats or I can't do lunges," I challenge them to not use the toilet, to not go up or down stairs, because that's basically what
Yeah,
that is. It's the same movement pattern.
right.
So that those five basic patterns, that's everything that we do. If you're carrying something, if you're walking, if you're jumping, it's some combination or variation of pushing, pulling, twisting, bending, or level changing, or the very close cousins we have in there of anti-bending, anti-rotation, and single or double leg level change. But that's really it. Some people classify them differently, but those five seem to work pretty well from an educational standpoint. It keeps it simple. So you just look at exercise and say, what is the dominant movements of this exercise? And if this one hurts, what's another one that will allow me to do that same movement pattern that doesn't hurt?
Yeah. And explaining it that way does simplify it for those that are scared of exercise or intimidated, especially come in contact with you. Although you're a nice
What a
guy,
nice guy, sir.
you
People,
have that.
ooh,
Look, look. This is Joe. I want to show everyone. This is Joe right here, and
I'm the taller one.
yeah, the tall one, and that is a real live tiger.
She was at the time anyway, from what
Yeah,
I
it's
understand.
not a stuffed animal. It's not a
No,
So that you look really tough, although you're a nice guy. But so if someone comes to see you and they're like, "Oh, this is one of those big, you know, mean guys," it does help simplify it when you put it that way, and then
I like to
it's
keep it
less.
simple. I mean, I keep everything simple as possible,
Right.
as complicated as necessary, but as simple as possible and as practical to get the job done. Because we could always make it more complicated as we go along. This comes back to that concept of progression. If you start out right now walking your dog around the block, and then that's good for you, but next week you're not making progress, what do you do? And if I start with the most complicated way I could explain exercise, and you happen to stick around with me long enough to grasp that, what do I do once you've outdone that? You got to go to another level, which, I'm not a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon. So, I mean, I have my own limits where I can go. So I want to start as simple as I can, keeping down to just a couple workouts we alternate between. If that's what we do, just to keep it very simple,
Hmm.
keep the skill, the new skill level low. So, walking is simple. Standing up is simple. If I describe a squat as getting off the toilet instead of coming into a squat rack, putting a bar on your back and, making it complicated, let's just, sit in the toilet, stand up. I mean, we will have a fake toilet called a chair maybe,
Yeah.
or just have an invisible, seat of some sort. But just the concept is you bend to sit down, you stand up. That's
Right.
pretty much it. And we progressively make it more complicated as needed, but no faster than necessary.
So on that note, what about the guys? I mentioned a woman that was inactive and how she can not be intimidated. What about the guy who used to be really fit 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they need a little motivation and they come in and they're like, well, I need a little motivation, but they want to skip. They want to start with number
Yeah,
one and move to number 10. And
guys are dumb.
they,
Guys are really dumb. uh, I mean, we don't get lost. We're driving. We don't get lost. I'm gonna just keep on going. I'll find where I'm trying to go. Sometimes you got to get out of your own way.
I
And I
like
say
that.
this as a
I
guy.
like
Hopefully, I don't lose my man card for saying this, but sometimes we just got to get out of our own way, step back, and trust that simple is better, at least for the time.
I
And then
like that.
once you see, simple may not be better. And this thing is sometimes simple is not better. Sometimes you need complicated, but you need to at least have a baseline to work from to start making these decisions. It's like if you have the most complicated random set of workout programs going for you right now, what's working, what's not? How do you know? Simplify it. Take it down to the very basics and kind of rebuild. It's kind of like rebooting your computer when you get the blue screen of death. It's just take it back, start over, see what's working, see what's not. Start to assess the whole situation, not just the exercises, but your recovery, your nutrition, Everything that goes into fitness, you have to kind of look at all of it. But if you step back a little bit and simplify it, now you can start to kind of pick and choose which variables you're working with and understand why things work or why they don't.
I just want to remind everyone what Joe has done. You've worked with so many people in so many states, but not just U.S. You've lived in London.
2 hours north of London, kind of the middle of nowhere. Yeah, but for those who aren't from the UK, London's good enough.
And Joe's been in the fitness industry for many years.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, many.
25,
This is
30.
this is I think my 21st now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
younger than
So I'm still kind of new, I guess.
me. 21. 21, that's good. You're legal now in the
I'm
fitness
legal.
industry.
There we
21
go.
years.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So, are there any other quick tips that you can give anyone? Because here we are at the beginning of 2014, and everyone has that on their mind. Okay, this is the year I'm going to get back to where I was. I'm going to get in better shape than what I am now. I'm going to get healthier. Some quick tips that they can remember, and maybe even write it down and post it somewhere so they look at it every day, and a reminder of, yeah, that's what Joe said. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm doing every day.
Yeah, I say with the concept of progression, because that's the underlying theme of anything fitness.
Okay, write that
Pick
down.
a variable. Pick one variable and then push that variable over the period of a month. Whether it's how many times you go to a gym, maybe on week one you go 3 times, week two you go 4 times, week three, whatever my math is right now, you go the extra time I just said. I'm doing my math. I got numbers going on. So you might increase your volume. That might be the thing, is just strictly starting with exercise volume, and that's a great place to start. There comes a point though where you run out of time in the day or the week to do more. So then once you're already doing, 7 days a week or 7 workouts a week, rather than doing more, you might want to push the intensity of those workouts. So if right now you're going to the gym and you're lifting weights and you're pushing a weight you can do for 8 reps or 10 reps, push a heavier weight. Every week try to push the weight heavier, but don't change the reps, don't change the frequency, don't change anything else except for pushing the weights. Or you might let the weight stay the same, but push the reps you do. I mean, just push something. Pick a variable. Don't pick all the variables. I say this, it seems 1,000 times a day. Random efforts can produce nothing other than random results. And if you're random, you don't know what you're going to get. And that might be okay for a lot of people. The level threes I talked about that can sit with the abdominal cattle prod belt, they can do anything and they'll do okay with it. But people who aren't them, they need to be a bit more systematic and progressive, and they have to plan ahead at least a month in advance for, here's the variable I want to focus on right now. At the end of that month, say, okay, did it give me the results I want? If so, keep doing that. If not, pick a different variable.
Okay, good
Simple as
plan.
that.
Good plan. So Joe joins us from Grand Rapids, Michigan,
Yeah,
and
formerly of Wilmington, Delaware, but I made the move a few years ago.
yes, yes, you were before in Wilmington when you used to provide our fit tip for the day. And I want to thank you for all your tips. I want to pick your brain for just one more little tip that can change things today. And what I
Okay.
mean by change things today is not a miracle pill to make you drop 20 pounds today, but change right now, right now. As soon as you hear this, you'll make a change. You'll put
Stand
something
up.
into action. So
Stand up. Stand up. I mean, even right. I mean, you're sitting at a desk. I mean, if what you're doing is now and you're seated, if it can be done standing, do that. Simply the act of standing, like in a gym, for example. If you're doing like an exercise that you can do seated, by standing, you could burn about 30% more calories just doing the exact same thing from a standing
yep,
position. So
that's
if fat loss, if energy expenditure is part of the goal, standing is the first thing you can do. I've got a standing desk in my office right across the room here from me. Because if I'm gonna be sitting, doing work on my desk anyway, work on the computer, writing stuff, whatever I'm doing, I might as well at least stand to get something extra out of it.
yeah,
So
good.
just stand. Bob Marley said it: "Get up, stand up." Right?
Get up, stand up. So that's what you have to do.
That's
If
it.
you have liked this information, please like it, share it with a friend, subscribe. If you want more information from Joe Stankowski, I'll have a link below where you can contact him. And Joe will be back with more information for you in the future. And I look forward to that. Joe, thank you so much for
Always a
joining us.
pleasure. So glad to see you again.
Thanks. All right. We'll
All right.
talk to you soon. And that's it from Joe Stankowski. It's time to sign off.